Hey, fourth graders, it's Mrs. Spears. Hope you had a great weekend. We're starting a new chapter today. This is chapter 13. It's on area and perimeter. So today I'm going to do 13.1, and that is on page 717. So today is all about perimeter. Perimeter is the outside measurement of a shape, basically. It's how long across and wide something is. So like if you were trying to find, like in this picture, they do looks like a stone border around something. To figure out how much you need to use the shape's perimeter, the outside edge, and figure out how long it is all the way around the outside edge. You also use this for, like, if you think about my bulletin board at school, it's got border around the outside edges of it. So like I needed the measurements of the bulletin board to figure out how much border to use. So perimeter is anything that measures all around the outside edge. So this problem says Julio is putting a stone border around his rectangular garden. The length of the garden is 7 feet, so it's 7 feet long, and the width of the garden is 5 feet. How many feet of stone border does Julio need? So he's got to measure all the way around the outside edge to figure out how much he needs. So it says, let's see here. To find out how many feet of stone border Julio needs, find the perimeter of the garden. So perimeter of a rectangle is the same thing as length plus width plus length plus width. So length plus width plus length plus width is what it's saying. So they already wrote it down for you. It's 7 plus 5 plus 7 plus 5. Because, and the reason that they got 7 plus 5 here, but we also know this other side over here is 7. Because it's the same size as this side. So those are some clues that will help you. If you have missing side lengths when you're finding perimeter, use the clues of the other sides and they will help you figure it out. Same thing with this side up here. With this whole side, it's the same size as this one. So I'm going to put the 5 up here again. So there's 5 feet this way, 7 feet this way, 5 feet this way, 7 feet this way. And so they represented that with an equation. The whole perimeter, the outside edge, is written the same thing as a length plus the width plus the length plus the width. So if we add all of those together, we get 24. And you can add those together any way you want. If you want to add the 5s and then plus a 7 plus a 7. However you want to add those together. But all those added together is 24. So the perimeter is 24 feet. So it's 24 feet all the way around the outside edge. So Julio needs 24 feet of stone border. So to find the perimeter of a rectangle, you know you need 2 of the lengths and 2 of the widths. So written as an equation, it's written like perimeter equals 2 times the length. So I've got 2 of these guys plus 2 times the width. This is written up here with just addition, but if we rewrote this, it would be the same thing as 2 times 7, because I have 2 7s, plus 2 times 5, because I've got 2 5s. And we know from when we learned how to solve equations, you have to solve the parentheses first. So if you solve that, it would be 14 plus 10. And you add those together and you get 24. So that's where this formula comes from a perimeter. It's 2 of the lengths. So even if you just had 1 side length and 1 width, you could just do 2 of each of those because you know that there's 2 of the same size on each side. So this one is written 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So I've got 2 times the length, which is 12, plus 2 times the width, which is 8. So then to solve that, they do it for you. So 2 times 12 is 24. And then 2 times 8 is 16. So then we add those together and we get 40. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 40 centimeters. That's one thing that's really important with area and perimeter too. You always want to make sure that your answer includes the unit, especially since you've just learned how to about all those different units and how to measure it and things like that. It's really important that you include it with it. Okay, so then this one says find the perimeter of a square. So perimeter equals 4 times one side. So with a square is really cool. One thing we know about squares, which we haven't really learned about different shapes and stuff yet because we skipped those chapters to do these ones to send home. We'll learn about those in a couple weeks. But a square has all the same length on every side. That's what makes it a square. If one side is a different size than the other ones, it's not a square anymore. So if they tell you find the perimeter of the square, that's your clue that all the 4 sides of the square are the same length. So they may just give you one side, say, hey, it's a square, and you have to multiply that by 4 because you've got 4 of those sides. So perimeter is 4 times one side, which is 16 inches. So 4 times 16 is 64. So the perimeter is 64 inches. Turn the page. And we've got, this is page 718. This says use a formula. Now a formula is, usually when I hear the word formula, I think of like baby formula. And ew. But this is all about using a mathematical rule. It's basically saying that if you have certain numbers, you can pop those numbers into the equation and solve it. So the equation, the formula for perimeter is perimeter, P, equals 2 times L. L just stands for length. And plus 2 times W, which stands for width. So if you were given the length and the width, you can just take those numbers, pop them into your formula, and solve it to find your perimeter. So that's what we're going to do here. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. So they said this rectangle is 18 meters long and 14 meters wide. So we come over to our formula, same formula as up here. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So that equals 2 times the length. My length is 18. So I'm going to pop at 18 in that blank. Plus 2 times my width, which is 14. And we know we have to solve the parentheses first. So I'm going to do 2 times 18, which is 36. 2 times 14 is 28. Right? Yeah. And then you just add those together. So then you've got 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1. 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. So 64. So the perimeter of the rectangle is 64, and the unit is meters. So I'm going to add the meters onto that. Alrighty. So it says, can you use the distributive property to write the formula P equals 2 times length plus 2 times the width another way? Yes, you can. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about the distributive property, but basically another way to write this is to write P equals 2 times the length plus the width. That's just rewriting the equation. This works the same way. Because if we were to solve this rectangle using this formula this way, we just have twice the length plus the width, which is the same thing as saying this plus this, do it 2 times because you have the same size lengths. So if you solved it using this equation instead, it should come out to the same answer. So we've got P equals 2 times the length, which is 18, plus the width, which is 14. Solve that. See here, 18 plus 14 is 32. Then you drop down the stuff you haven't used yet. 2 times 32 is 64. So you get to the same answer as that. It's just a different way to write it. I think this way makes a little bit more sense. because I think it better matches what you're actually doing over here. You're having 2 lengths, so that's why you have 2 times the length, and you're having 2 widths, so that's just why you have 2 times the width. So I like that one a little better, but this is definitely another way you could write it too, using the distributive property. It says, write a formula for the perimeter of a square. So the square is like our big clue right here that tells us that all the sides are the same length. Whenever I'm doing area and perimeter, I always draw a picture. If they don't give me a picture, I always draw one, because it helps my brain really see a better understanding of what's going on. So I'm going to try to draw a square that's got all the same, all the same size lengths to it. So I'm going to use the letter P in my equation for perimeter, and I'm going to use the letter S for the length of the side. And I chose those letters because that's what starts out, the beginning of each of those words. So it reminds me a little easier what I'm doing. Because I have 4 sides that are all the same length. Each side has an S on it. So the whole perimeter equals 4 times the side, because I've got 4 sides that are all the same size. Now, like I said earlier, if you have one side that's a different length than the other sides, let's say like this was 5 and this was 8, that's not a square. Even though it was drawn differently, it's not a square. In order for it to be a square, it all has to be the same size, or it has to say it's a square. Justify the formula wrote for the perimeter of the square. And that's basically what we just talked about. It's 4 times the side because there are 4 sides of equal length. So you're multiplying this one side 4 times, and that gives you your perimeter. Now we're over here on page 719. So this problem walks you through the perimeter of the rectangle again. They give you the formulas over here for the perimeter. For a rectangle, again, it's the same thing as it was earlier. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Or they rewrote it the other way with the distributive property. Like I said, I would much rather you use this one because I think it better explains things. But if that one made more sense to you, that's fine too. Basically with perimeter, all you have to do is add up all the sides is all you need to do. This is using multiplication to make it go by a little faster. But, because of the way the perimeter works, you can always just use straight up addition if you want to as well. I'll show you that in a second. But to use the blanks on here, you have to use multiplication. So perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So you fill that in. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So for this rectangle, it would be 2 times 8 and 2 times 4. It doesn't matter if the 4 was here and the 8 was here, or 8's here or 4's here. It doesn't matter because you're multiplying and adding, so your order can be in a different order. It doesn't, when I was your age, I always got confused. I was like, wait, is that the length or is that the length? It doesn't really matter as long as you stay consistent. So if you want to think of this as the length and this is the width, but if it made more sense for you to think of this as the length and this is the width, kind of like the picture is over here, that's fine. It doesn't matter, which is the cool part about it. So then we've got 2 times 8 is 16. And then 2 times 4 is 8. So that goes right there. 16 plus 8 is 24. So the perimeter is 24 feet. Like I said, you can use straight up addition too. The side length for this is 8 because it's the same size as this one. The side length for this one is 4 because it's the same size as this one. And then you can just start adding them up. You just do 4 plus 8 plus 4 plus 8. And you'll still get 24. It will still work. It's just the way that this is written, it makes it a little bit easier. Because in my brain, to add all these up, I would have still been like, okay, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16. Okay, 8 plus 16 is 24, which is exactly what you do here. So this is just a quicker way to do this. But if you want to go 4 plus 8, and then add 4, and then add 8 again, you can. It's just you're more likely, it's like when we learned repeated addition versus multiplication. We were a lot more likely to make a mistake with repeated addition because it's a lot more numbers to keep track of than we were with multiplication and when it was just 1 or 2 steps that way. But again, it's up to you. As long as you understand that perimeter is the distance all the way around the shape and how much, like think of if you're putting a fence around the shape, how much fence you're going to need. That's what's important about this. Then it says find the perimeter of the rectangle or square. So if we were to write it out using the formula, it would be 2 times 16 plus 2 times 4, because there's 2 16s and 2 4s. So 16 times, oops. Two times 16 plus 2 times 4. So this would be 32. Drop your plus line down. 2 times 4 is 8. So you add those together and you get 40. So 48 yards is your answer. Okay? Same thing over here. Use the same thing. 2 times one side and then 2 plus 2 times the other side. So I'm going to do 2 times, I'm going to do the 110 first. Plus 2 times 42. Again, it doesn't matter if the 42 is here or here. It doesn't matter because with addition, it's just switching it back and forth. So it still works. It's going to get the same answer either way. So I've got 2 times 110, that would be 220. Plus 2 times 42 is 84. So to add those up together, I would get 304 meters. And this one is a square. It doesn't tell you it's a square. Like I said, with the pictures, like, obviously you can look at that and say, hey, yeah, that's a square. But sometimes they might try to trick you by saying, oh, it looks like a square, but we snuck in some different numbers there. So be careful with that. If they have the same number on the length as the width, that is your clue that it is a square. Because if you do the opposite one, just like this, we did the opposite. 110 is the same thing up here, 110. The opposite over here is 4 and 4. So 4 and 4. So this one we can just write as 4 times the length of the side, which is 4 meters. And that gives us 16 meters. So I'm going to have you pause the video here. I want you to try 5, 6, and 7 on your own. And then I'll go over the answers with you. Ready, set, pause. Okay, here are your answers. So I would have 2 times 34 plus 2 times 20. And the answer for that is 108. 6 is a square because it's 116 as the length, 116 as the width. So that means this is also 116 and this is also 116. So you could either add 116 up 4 times, or you could just do 116 times 4. I'll do this one with you. 6 times 4 is 24. Here you 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. Then 4 times 1 is 4. So 464 is your answer. That's a big one. And with this one, your answer is 126. You have 2 times 42 plus 2 times 21, and that ends up to 126. All right. I'm going to do this one with you. Robert wants to put lights around the front of his house. So if you kind of think about a house, and it's not a very pretty house, sorry. The house is 12 yards long and 7 yards high. How many feet of lights does he need? You'd solve it the same way, because you're not going to put lights all across the front. You're just going to put lights all the way around the outside edge. So we would do it the same way. 2 times 12, because each of these sides is 12. And then 2 times 7, because each of these sides is 7. So 2 times 12 plus 2 times 7. 24 plus 14 equals 38. And then our unit is yards. Sorry, it's a little messy. It's hard to write at the bottom. So 38 yards is the answer for that one. And this one has you think about a little bit. What is the side length of a square with a perimeter of 60 meters? Well, we know, they're like, wait, they didn't give us the side length. Yeah, I know. That's what we got to figure out. So I have a square that all the way around the outside edge is 60 meters. So I know, here's my formula for a square. P equals 4 times one side. They already told me what P is. They already figured that out. We had to work backwards. So I have 60 equals 4 times S. So I have to think, what number times 4 gives me 60? Well, that you may not know off the top of your head, so you're going to have to use the opposite operation to figure this out. If this is showing multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to do 60 divided by 4 to figure out this missing number over here. Now, you may know this one off the top of your head. You know what times 4 is 60, but if you're not sure, use the opposite operation to figure out the missing side. So I'm going to do 60 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6 one time. 2, 0. 4 goes into 25 times. 0, so 15. So your missing side equals 15 meters. So if you were to draw that back onto your shape, that would be 15, 15, 15, and 15. Add all those up, you will get 60. So that's a way to check your answer. All right. Turning the page, we're going to 720. And then they've got some problems for you to think about on here. It says Alejandra plans to sew fringe on a scarf. So she's like sewing some like fuzzy things all the way around the outside edge of her scarf. The scarf is shaped like a rectangle. The length of the scarf is 48 inches, and the width of the scarf is 1/2 the length. Ooh. How much fringe does Alejandra need? So it says draw a picture of the scarf and label the given measurements on your drawing. So here's her scarf. It says the length is 48 inches and the width is 1/2 of 48. Now to figure out what's 1/2 of 48, we have to divide 48 by 2. So I know on this side it's going to be 48 divided by, whoops, let me write that differently. 48 divided by 2, because to find 1/2 of something, you just divide it by 2. Divide into 2 groups. Because each of those groups would be 1/2. So I need to figure out, this is what I need to find. I need to find the width of the scarf, because that's how much, or no, how much fringe she needs. That's what she's trying to figure out. So then you have to figure out the side length for that. So I'm still going to use the same formula. It's a rectangle, so I'm going to use P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times, 2 times the width. So I'm going to take that over here. P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And then I'm going to plug in what I've got from my rectangle up here. I know my length is 48, so I can go ahead and put that in there. I'm still trying to figure out the perimeter because that will tell me how much fringe I need. So I'm going to leave the P by itself. So 2 times 48, because that's my length, plus 2 times my width. So I'm going to go over to the side, figure this out, and get a number so I can put a number back into my equation. Okay? So I'm going to do that off to the side over here. 2 goes into 48 2 times. Or 2 goes into 4, sorry. And then we pull down the 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So that would be 24. So I can put 24 in here. Because 24 is 1/2 of 48. And that was my clue. It said that my width is 1/2 of my length, so that's why I did that. And then I solve. So I've got 2 times 48, but you're not sure what that is. You can always come off to the side and do it. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry your 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So that's 96. Plus, drop that down because I haven't used it yet. 2 times 24 is 48. Add those together. Again, don't hesitate to go off to the side and add if you're not sure. Don't try to do it in your head because it's got some carrying and all of those things that makes it a little more challenging. So that's 14. 9 plus 4 is 13 plus 1 is 14. So 144. So the length of the scarf is 48 inches. The width is 1/2 the length. So it would be 48 divided by 2, which is 24. So the perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, which is what we just did over here. It's just rewriting it for you so you can kind of put it all together as one idea, which equals 144 inches. So Alejandra needs 144 inches of fringe. Alrighty. Marcia will make a frame for her picture. Or Marcia, I guess is probably, you could say it either way. The picture frame will be 3 times as long as it is wide. The width of the frame will be 5 inches. How much wood does Marcia need for the frame? So, let's see here. It says it's 3 times as long as it is wide, which tells me one side is bigger than the other, which means it's not a square. So I'm going to draw a picture. They've already told me it's 5 inches wide, so I can put that on my picture. But then the other side, I know this one too, it says the length is 3 times as wide as this one. So this side is going to be 3 times 5 because it's 3 times as long as the 5-inch width over here, which equals 15. So it means this side is 15 as well. So then I can use my perimeter formula. Perimeter equals 2 times 5, because that's one side, plus 2 times the other side. So I got 2 of each of them. And that equals 10 plus 30, which equals 40 inches. What's your answer on that one? And the last one. Maya is building a sandbox that is 36 inches wide. The length is 4 times the width. What is the perimeter of the sandbox? It's the same thing as this problem over here. So it would be, if you drew a picture, it's 36 inches wide. And then the other side is, it says the length is 4 times the width. So 4 times 36. Which equals 144. So it's 144 here, it's 36 here. 2 times 36 plus 2 times 144. That would be 12, just kidding. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 772 plus 288. You can do that off to the side again. There's a lot of borrowing and stuff, so don't try to do it in your head if you're not super sure about it. 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 1 is 16. 360 inches. Alright guys, like I said, the basic idea behind this is the perimeter is all the way around the outside edge. So whether or not you sit there and add up all your edges or you use the formulas is up to you. Like I said, the formulas, I think you're less likely to make a mistake because you don't have as much to keep track of, but it's really up to you. The next lesson is about area, which is the inside part, and I'll talk about that in the next video. But here's your normal homework page, so go ahead and do that on your own to practice some more. Again, you don't have to do the spiral review, but if you have some extra time, it's always good extra practice. The only thing is there's some stuff in here, like angles. We haven't done those yet because we had to skip ahead since this extended spring break thing. But we will get into that here in a couple weeks. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.